Daseri binabo, ọmọ mi yìí ṣe mẹ́na sóté. Ibinabo.
I'm a geographer by training and involved in environmental research. Well, the name of the organization is Save the Mangrove Ecosystem and the Ijaw people. It's common knowledge that the mangrove system in the Niger Delta had been so distorted by way of deforestation. It's been deforested badly, and it's principally due to different activities. One of such is oil and gas exploration activities in the course of seismic operations. Beyond that, you also have canal widening and creating canal for the purposes of transportation without proper study of the area, the natural dynamics of the mangrove ecosystem. Then again, you also have the dumping of dredge spoils by either government and private companies as well. And again, more importantly, which cannot be ruled out, is the natural change in the hydrological system of the area. And of course, you know that the Niger Delta is the largest wetland system we have in Africa and the third largest in the world. And it's a very sensitive mangrove ecosystem. Well, we cannot, you can't say one person, both government, individuals, the rurals, and corporate proponents. Okay, what we are trying to do is this. It's our own contribution. First of all, is to reforest. Now, the mangrove forest of the Delta, of the Niger Delta, is such that if you clear it, it takes about 25 to 30 years for it to regrow naturally. Now, for areas that are like that, what we are trying to do is to train the locals on how to plant the seeds so that we can reforest the area with the native species. Because the mangrove ecosystem, there are different types. So we train them, and we're doing this in partnership with other bodies such as the HAVIT, which is Center for Environment and Development, and relevant departments in the universities, particularly University of Port Harcourt and University of River State University here in River State. That's our idea. It's not a short-time thing. It's going to involve stages, the beginning, monitoring, and also actualizing it. We will move from location to location. And it's going to involve a whole lot of sensitization of the rurals. We will train them, give them some level of quasi-extension training so that they will be able to get involved in the program. Yes, we have a timeline. Yes, we have partners. Well, we're going to start in River State, and our pilot scheme will kick off from K community. K is an oceanic community. It's almost at the southern tip of River State, and that's along the Atlantic coastline. And it's also within close proximity to Kola, where you have a lot of extensive oil and gas operations taking place. And beyond Kola, you get to Bonny. The other way is Brass and Nimbe. Down this way, you're moving down to Calabar. So K, we're going to start off from K. Well, for us in this part, our gain is to see that something is done to reduce the impact of global warming, particularly the climate change that is a common knowledge, now. And also, again, we will benefit and will be very happy to see that advice that we will give will be taken seriously both by the rurals, government, and corporate bodies. And again, to see that biodiversity is reinstated, which goes back to be in line with the Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro 1992 of biological diversification. Because currently, we lack oysters. The oyster population has been so reduced drastically in the Niger Delta. You're very familiar with oysters, so reduced. But if we're able to do this, oyster population can increase because the oyster grows from the buttress roots of the mangrove forest. I agree with them, it's anthropogenetic, that is man-induced. Either you do it deliberately or whilst you're doing it carefully, you went beyond the threshold. I agree with that. Very recently, it's an emergent trend. Very recently, the activities of artisan refineries operators has greatly contributed to the destruction of the mangrove forests. The artisan forests, local people who are not trained in the refining process of crude, they refine the crude oil with local means. And that process, it's highly toxic. It's highly toxic. It's both acute toxicity and chronic toxicity. The long-term effect and the short-term effect. And we're all living witnesses to the short-term effect. And of course, we should brace up for the long-term effect, which is the chronic toxicity. And if something meaningful is not done now, I guess in the next 5 to 10 years, we will not have any mangrove forest to be proud of. The potentials of the mangrove forests are many. Ecotourism, the economy, people depend on it, harvesting oysters and moss keepers fishes for survival. And then the redwood itself, which is harvested from the mangrove forest, is also of high economic value, but to be harvested and harnessed in a more purposefully planned way. We're on course. For the people in the Niger Delta, we are faced with a plethora of problems. But for me and for us, for Save the Mangrove Ecosystem and the Ijaw people, everything must be done with some level of articulation. Everything must be done with some level of articulation, coordination, and then also put into consideration the dynamics, the coastal dynamics of the mangrove forest of the Niger Delta, the eccentrics of the attitudes of the people, and number 3, and very important, you strike a balance. Whatever action, whatever thing we want to do, we must weigh the pros and the cons for the sustainability of this environment.